Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, you're welcome to Sew with Mediva. And if you're a returning subscriber or a returning viewer, thank you for sticking to my channel. So in today's video, I'll be showing you guys how to cut and sew this simple Milkmaid A-line dress that I'm wearing. And I achieved this style using only 3 yards of crepe fabric. So this is what the back of the dress looks like. You can see how beautiful it looks. So if this is something you are interested in, make sure to keep watching and make sure you watch till the end so that you don't miss out on any detail. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment and subscribe to my channel. So I made use of 3 yards of this beautiful crepe fabric, and I also have the other materials here: my ruler, my scissors, my tape rule and my chalk. So we're going to draft the upper part on our pattern paper. So we're going to start with the upper part for the front panel, and I have my paper here. It is not in a fold of 2. So I came down by 2 inches from the upper part of my paper. This is going to serve as the casing where we'll be passing in the drawstring. So I'll go ahead to just fold it in so that it doesn't cause any confusion. So since this dress is in form of an off-shoulder dress, I'm going to place my tape rule 6 inches above the starting point. So this is going to give that off-shoulder effect. You can decide to use 7 inches if you want yours lower. So the first measurement I'm going to take is from my shoulder to my nipple point, which is 10.5 inches. So the next one is from my shoulder to my under bust, which is 13.5 inches. And the last is from my shoulder to my half length, which is just above your belly button, is 16 inches, but I added 1 extra inch for the joining allowance. So mark your own appropriate measurements and then proceed to draw out the lines this way. After marking out the lines, go ahead to label them appropriately so that you don't get confused. So I'll come over to the upper part of the paper and take my shoulder measurement divided by 2, which is 8 inches. And then from that 8 inches mark, I'm going to take my tape rule and place it 6 inches above the starting line again to mark my chest line, which is 8.5 inches. To get your chest line, divide your bust measurement by 6 and add 1.5 inches to it. Then further extend the line this way. The next thing is to take the dart. So to get your dart line, divide your nipple to nipple measurement by 2. Mine is 4 inches, and I'm going to mark it on the under bust line and on the half length line. And I'll take half an inch on both sides and just connect it all the way up this way. And then I'll mark the center point. So the next thing I want to do is to crease the cups. I'll come over to this line and come in by 1 inch. So half an inch there is for attaching the sleeve, and the other half an inch is to attach the cups. And on this under bust line, I'll come up by 1 inch. You can do 1.5 inches. So I'll go ahead now to just use my free hand to create the cup this way. So go ahead to curve it out this way. And then I'll connect from this point all the way to meet that marked area. So I'll use my curve roller to just do this. You can also use your free hand to do it. And then I'll extend it all the way up. So after creating the cup, this is what you should have. The next thing we want to do is to place the round body measurements on the pattern. So I'll come over to the bust line and place my round bust measurements divided by 4, which is 10 inches, and I'll add 1 inch for seam allowance. You can also add 1.5 inches for your seam allowance. So I'll go ahead to mark 11 inches. And on the waistline, I'll come over to the waistline and mark my round waist measurements divided by 4, which is 8.5 inches. I'll add 1 inch for that and 1 inch for seam allowance to make 10.5 inches. So after marking your own appropriate measurements, go ahead to connect the points this way. And then I'll take my curved ruler and just crease the armhole curve this way. So this is all for the front part of this dress. Let's go ahead to cut it out. So let's go ahead now to cut it out. So before I open up the cups, we're going to use this to cut out the back pattern. So to cut out the back, I've gone ahead to place the front pattern on another pattern paper, and I left a 1.5 inches zipper allowance, 2 inches zipper allowance towards the center back. I'll just go ahead to roll it out. And then for the upper part of the back, I have half an inch there, while I still have the 2 inches folded in for the front. So I'll mark the dart point on the back pattern, as you can see, and I'll trace out the armhole. And then go ahead to cut it out. So I'll remove the front pattern now and then mark my dart. So you're going to extend the back dart all the way up this way. And then I'll take out about 0.75 inches for this to avoid any kind of zipper bulge, and just slant it all the way to the top this way. So you're going to be cutting out this part. And then to make your dress sit very well at the back, I'm going to come up again by 1 inch. I'll come up by 1 inch on the waistline and just slant it to the side, and then proceed to cut it out. So I'll open up the dart areas this way, so that when I'm cutting on my fabric, I'll just cut this out as a one piece. I hope you guys understand. I'll cut it out as one, and I'll need 2 pieces of it. So I'll set the back panels aside now while we'll open up the front. So I've brought out the 2 inches I folded initially, and I'll just go ahead to cut out the cup. So after cutting it out, this is what it looks like. So I'll cut out the 2 inches on this side because I won't be needing it. So when you open up, you should have something that looks just like this. I'll open up the dart so that I can cut it out as one piece as well. So for the cups, we're going to be using the slash and spread method to get the gathered effect. I'm going to just divide it 1 inch apart and use my ruler to connect the lines this way. So after marking the lines, I'll go ahead to number it to avoid any confusion, and then cut it out. So after cutting out, I'll spread this on another pattern paper and show you guys what it looks like. So I'm going to spread the patterns now on a new pattern paper. So I'm going to arrange it according to how I numbered it and use my pins to hold it down. So it's going to be 1.5 inches apart. So I'll go ahead to arrange the other ones and I'll show you guys what it looks like. So after I arrange the pieces on the new pattern paper, this is what it looks like. I'll use my marker now to just trace it out. Go ahead to trace it out and then cut it. So after cutting, I'll remove the pieces from it and just set it aside. So this new pattern is what we're going to use to cut on the fabric, and we're going to be cutting out 2 pieces of it for both sides of the dress. So we have cut out the patterns for both the front and the back panels, and this is what it looks like. So let's go ahead to label them before we cut on the fabric. So like I said earlier, we're going to be cutting out 2 pieces of this upper part, and we're going to cut this one on a fold, and this is going to be the center front. It's going to fold your fabric into 2 and cut this out. So this part will be the folded part of your fabric, and for this back I'm going to be cutting out 2 panels as well. So let's go ahead to do that. So I have used the patterns to cut out my fabric, and this is what it looks like. So for this front part, I have 2 pieces of it. One is going to serve as the lining. I'm using the same fabric as my lining, and for the back I also have 4 pieces of it because 2 is going to serve as the lining, and this is for the cups. You can see what it looks like. I just have 2 pieces of it. I also notched the point where I'll be folding. So I'll remove the patterns from the fabric now and show you guys the next thing. So after taking out the patterns, this is what it looks like. So we're going to close up the center front and also fold in the drawstring allowance. So you're going to first of all close up the center front by 1/2 inch first, all the way to the point where the cuff stopped. Close it up, and then when you are done doing that, you then fold the upper part twice to the point where you notched, and then go ahead to stitch it down. I'll do the same thing for the other side, and I'll show you guys the next thing to do. So after I folded in the center front and also took in the casing for the drawstring, this is what it looks like. I've also gone ahead to fold up fabrics I'll be using as the drawstrings. So I'll pass in my pin through it this way and close it up. Then from the center front, I'll start to pass in the pin with the rope this way till it gets to the other opening. When it gets there, I'll go ahead to stitch it down. Let me just use my pin to hold it for now. So I'll stitch it down there. I'll repeat the same process for the other one. Start from the center front and pass in your drawstring to the other side. So I'll stitch it down as well, and then I'll show you guys what it looks like. So after I stitch down the drawstring to one edge, this is what it looks like. So right now we're going to fix it to the lower part of the front panel, and I ironed my stay to the wrong side. The other piece is going to serve as the lining. I'll set it aside for now. So what we want to do now is to fit in this cup into this piece this way. So you're going to gather your cup into it so that it fits in, just as you can see me doing in the video, and stop at that point. So I'm going to get my pin now and just pin this edge. You're going to come down by half an inch because of turning over with your lining. Come down by half an inch on that point and just use your pin to hold it down. And then I'll bring the other side where I stopped the folding. You can see I'll go ahead to pin it to this center point, making sure the right sides are facing each other. So after pinning, I'll go ahead to just pleat or gather the fabric as I'm joining together so that the cup fits into that space this way. So go ahead to just stitch it down and just form your gathers all the way down. So when I'm done doing that, I'll repeat the same process on the other one. I'll repeat the same process on the other side, and then I'll stitch it down. So when I'm done doing all of that, I'll show you guys what it looks like. So after attaching the cups to the lower part, this is what it looks like. You can see how beautiful it looks. The next thing we want to do is to turn it over with our lining. So I'm going to fold in the cups this way. Let's go ahead to fold it in, and then I'm going to get my lining and place it right side facing the other one this way, and then just go ahead to stitch down the lining on the seam that you already have there. So stitch the lining on it this way. You can use your pin to hold this down to make it easier for you. Just make sure that your cup is inside while you are stitching. So when I get to this upper part, I'll close it up. That is why I will leave that half an inch there, and then I'll close up the sides as well. I'll repeat the same thing on this other side, and when I'm done, I'll get the back panels and also turn it over with the lining. Place them right sides facing each other, close the upper part, close the zipper allowance, and close the sides. You can also close the lower part if you want to. So when I'm done doing all of that, I'll turn it over to the right side, iron it out, and show you guys what it looks like. So after I turned over with the lining, this is what it looks like on the wrong side. You can see how neat it looks now, and I've also ironed it out. So this is what we have, and for the back panels, I have also turned over with my lining and I have ironed it out, and this is what it looks like. You can see how neat it looks. So I'm going to set this upper part aside now while we work on the lower part of this dress. So to cut out the lower part of this dress, I'm going ahead to fold my fabric into two, and this is only for the front panel. I'm going to use the this front panel to cut out the back. So the wideness of the fabric I have here is 17 inches. You can work with something wider depending on how wide you want the lower part to be, but for mine I have 17 inches on fold. So the length of this lower part is 45 inches. So plus the 16 inches we worked with earlier to make a total of 61 inches. So I'm going to use 1 inch to finish up the base of the dress. So the first thing to do now is to mark out a starting line at the upper part of the fabric this way, which is going to serve as the waistline. So from this waistline, I'm going to come down to my hip line, which is 10.5 inches. Go ahead to mark your own appropriate measurements this way. So after that, I'll come over to the waistline. And then the first thing I'll do is to measure what I have on the waistline of the front panel. So I have 19 inches here. So I'm going to divide the 19 inches into two since my fabric is in a fold of two, and from the center front I'm going to take 9.5 inches. 19 inches divided by 2 is 9.5 inches, and just mark it there. And on the hip line, I'll mark my round hip measurements divided by 4, which is 11 inches, and I'll add 2 extra inches to it, 1 inch for seam allowance and 1 inch for ease. And then I'll go ahead to connect the points together this way. So because I'm going to have a slit on the front panel, I'm going to add 1 extra inch to the waistline. So this is going to serve as the joining allowance. So I'll mark it up, and then from that hip line, I'll take my straight ruler, my straight long ruler, and just connect it all the way down to the full length of this dress. So after connecting, this is what we have. The next thing to do is to cut it out. So let's go ahead now to cut it out. So I'm going to be using this front panel to cut out the back. It is going to be exactly the same thing because I already added 1 inch to the front, so it is going to fit in as a zipper allowance for the back. I hope you guys understand. So I'll just curve out this edge so that it doesn't appear sharp when I'm done. So I'll use this to cut out the back now and show you guys what it looks like when I'm done. So I have used the front panel to cut out the back, and I have exactly the same thing. This is because I already added 1 inch to the front panel, so it's going to serve as a zipper allowance for the back. So this is the upper part of the back panel. I'll place it on the waistline and just cut out the extra 0.5 inches I have on the waistline. So I just have a little bit of excess there. I'll cut it out. This is to prevent any kind of zipper bulge like I explained earlier. And then I'll proceed to open up the center back all the way down. So after opening up, I'll go ahead to join the two pieces together. I'll join the upper and the lower parts together. So place them right sides facing each other this way, and then use the half an inch allowance or 1 inch that you added to join the fabrics together. Go ahead to stitch it all the way down. So for the front panel, I want to determine where I want my slits to be. So I'll come in by 5 inches from the center front. Coming by 5 inches, I just divided my nipple to nipple measurements by 2 and I added 1 extra inch to it. So I'm going to mark that 5 inches from the center front all the way down so that I can get a very straight line before I open up. So mark 5 inches all the way down and just create a straight line. This is where we're going to have the slit. So when you open up, this is what you should have. So I'll proceed now to open up this line. So this is the reason why I added extra 1 inch to the waistline so that it doesn't truncate the waistline when I join it together. So after that, I'll place the two fabrics now right sides facing each other and close it up from the waistline up to the point where I want my slits to stop. So initially I measured 18 inches but I ended up using 16 inches. So go ahead to stitch it closed and join to the upper part. So after I join the upper and the lower parts together, this is what it looks like. This is for the front panel, and this is what the slit opening in front looks like. So on the wrong side, what you're going to do now is to open it up this way and just iron the seam opened, iron it out so that it lays down flat, and then go ahead to fold in this opened part into two this way and stitch it all the way down. I'll do the same thing for the other side, fold into two and stitch all the way down. So for the back, I have also joined the upper and the lower parts together, and this is what we have. So the next thing we want to do is to join the front and the back panels together. So I'm going to place them right sides facing each other this way. Make sure to merge the waistline area very well, and then go ahead to stitch all the way down using your seam allowance that is left. I'll repeat the same process for the other side, and when I'm done, I'll go ahead to close up the center back all the way to the point where I want my zipper to stop. So I want my zipper to stop at the 17 inches mark. So I'm going to measure to 17 inches and then I'll stop joining at that point. So when I'm done, I will show you guys what it looks like. So after closing up the sides, this is what it looks like. So I've also gone ahead to finish up the slit on the wrong side. I folded in twice and stitched it all around, and I also finished the base of the dress by folding in twice and stitching all around. So the next thing we want to do is to work on the sleeves, and I have the fabric cut out already. So the dimension of the fabric to cut, for the wideness I divided my round armhole measurement by 2 and I added 5 extra inches to it to make 12 inches. So I have 12 inches on fold, and for the length I have 12 inches. I'll take out 1.5 inches at the upper part and at the base for the elastic casing. So I'm left with 9 inches for the sleeve. So I have the same thing for both fabrics. So I'm going to place them on each other this way because I'll be cutting out both sleeves together. And then I'll get the armhole of my dress and just place it towards the open angle of the fold. So get the armhole of the dress and place it towards the open angle this way. So I made sure to leave about 1.5 inches at the upper part. I'll leave 1.5 inches there for the elastic case, and I'll leave about half an inch on this side to close up the seam, and then I'll just go ahead to cut out following the shape. So after cutting out, I'll just notch the point where I want the elastic casing to stop, that I'll know where to fold. So I'll set the dress aside now while we take in the elastic casing. So just go ahead to fold it in, fold half an inch first and fold 1 inch all the way to that point you notched, and go ahead to stitch it down. So I'll repeat the same process for the lower part and then do it for the other sleeve. So when I'm done, I'll show you guys the next thing to do. So I've gone ahead to fold in the elastic casing, and this is what we have. So I already fixed in one of the sleeves and you can see how beautiful it looks. So I'll show you guys now how to fix in the other one. So the first thing you're going to do is to pass in your elastic bands, and I've cut out the elastic band for the upper and the lower part. So to get the length of elastic for the lower part, go ahead to measure around your bicep where your sleeve will stop and just subtract 2 inches from it. And for the upper part, you can use between 6 inches or 7 inches of elastic. It will work just fine. So I'll go ahead now to use my pin to pass in the elastic band, just like I did with the drawstring in front. So passing the pin with the elastic band. So when it gets to this edge, go ahead to stitch it down on both sides. So I'll first of all stitch on this side. I'll stitch it down on this side and go ahead stitch it on the other side. So when I'm done stitching, I'll pass the upper elastic band and then close up the sleeve this way and stitch it down. So when I'm done with that, I'll show you guys. So after closing up the sleeves and turning over, this is what it looks like. I've also inserted the elastic band. So the next thing to do is to fix the sleeve. So I'll open up the armhole of my dress this way, and then I'll take the part where I joined the sleeve and measure to the part to the side joining of the dress and just use my pin to hold it down. So from that midpoint, I'm going to stitch it all the way up this way. So when I'm done with this side, I'll repeat the same process for the other side and stitch it all the way up. If you have any excess, you can just go ahead to gather it. After that, I'll insert the zipper at the back and show you guys the finished product of the dress. So after inserting the second sleeve, this is what it looks like. You can see how beautiful it looks, and I've also gone ahead to insert the zipper at the back, and you can see how neat and beautiful it looks. So this is where we'll be ending this video for today. I hope you found it useful and I hope you have learned something new. So if you found this video useful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.